pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll with Atlantic.
Water towers can fly!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight down, feed off. Bring in, feed off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks, let's see if we're good to go here. Let me know if you can hear me, all of us, actually hear me and see all of us, because it is time for the NASA DART Impact special live stream here. Got some special guests with me this evening. Give me some 5x5s in chat and let me know that this is working correctly. I see so many 5x5s in chat, and there were 5,500 of you waiting for the stream to start. So I'm glad we started on time, which doesn't always happen, but here we are. It is happening today in just about a little bit over an hour, and we have a super special stream for you today. We are not just going to be here talking about what's going on, but we have Mr. Scott Bellamy, who is the mission manager for NASA's DART program. He's going to be spending an hour with us here doing live Q&A, talking about the mission as we go for the lead up here for the DART Impact. Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me again. I really love it.
Yeah, I was going to say welcome back. No stranger to our stream. We had you back in December, I believe, of last year for Virtual Astronomy Live, right after the DART launch, just before Thanksgiving, I believe. So, yeah, welcome back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And also, you just heard from Elysia Segal with Intrepid Museum. She's going to be here co-hosting with me, asking questions, doing all the normal things we do. So the housekeeping really quickly. These are live streams. We're not like recording this. We don't have like a script or anything. We're making it up as we go because we're space nerds and we love awesome space stuff. And Scott is here to share some of that excitement with us today. If you've got questions for us, tag us in whatever chat you're watching. The stream is going out like everywhere right now. Use @NASASpaceflight, use @Intrepid Museum, tag us in a question on Facebook, whatever it is you do, feel free to ask questions. I'm going to get some of those questions and we'll ask them to the team here. Like I said, we've got about an hour with Scott before the mission impact happens, and we're going to have another scientist join us during the actual impact. But ask some questions, we'll be answering them. Also, you know, NSF streams, sometimes there's super chats that happen. I'm not going to be doing a lot of reading of super chats today. We're going to focus on Scott and the mission because we're literally crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid on purpose, right, Scott?
Oh, yes, definitely.
How does that feel?
Something we usually do.
I was going to ask you, how are
exciting.
you feeling right now? What is the vibe over there at APL where you are?
It's everybody is very hyped. You can feel the excitement in the air. Everything's growing really well too right now. Approximately 20 minutes ago, Draco was able to see Dimorphos emerge from behind the limb of Didymos. So now we can actually see the speck of light. It's not huge in the camera. We won't see Dimorphos itself as an actual asteroid that we can describe until 20 minutes before impact.
And I think
right now
we've actually got that, right? Like, this is the Draco camera, and right now you're like, what, is it broken? No, the dot in the middle of this shot, that's actually the larger asteroid, correct?
it is. That's Dimorphos or Didymos.
Didymos. And this is, I mean, I say live, like there's clearly light speed transmission time from the spacecraft back to us. It's as live as it gets, I guess, when you got a live feed off of the spacecraft. But it's
a little over 40 seconds. Yeah.
How long is it?
A little over 45 seconds.
45 seconds. And Draco is a camera that's actually on the, like, what's Draco? What is it?
Oh, I hope you're not asking me to spell out the acronym here.
We'll frantically Google it on the side, like.
So it's the Didymos Reconnaissance something camera observer, and it's an optical camera that is situated on the forward end of DART, and it is pointing right at Didymos right now.
Right.
And that is feeding into our smart navigation system. which is allowing the spacecraft to autonomously do its course corrections. And it will continue that all the way down to about 2 minutes before impact, and then it will stop maneuvering completely.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, like the spacecraft is actively looking at the feed of this camera and using what it sees to steer itself towards the target, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it's doing.
So
it's using that with the star tracker imagery to make sure it maintains its reference position, and it's using, that speck in the middle of the screen as its target.
Gotcha.
Right now, if you go into the Mission Operations Center right now, you'll see another version of this with a little red circle on it, and that's Draco has locked onto it and is maintaining that as closely as possible to the center of its field of view.
And I'm noticing too, actually, on the little screen, it's sort of drifting a little bit right now. So we are actually looking at its approach to the asteroid right now on the screen.
Yes, we are.
This is amazing. So what is it exactly that then knows to kind of hop over to the moon, Dimorphos in particular?
Sorry, I hope that background isn't disturbing you guys. It's actually the audio feed from the Mission Operations Center.
I think it's fine.
That's cool.
Chat, is that okay? We have audio from the Mission Operations Center. Y'all are okay with that, right? Because he's there.
He's there. So what is it exactly like? Right now it's zooming towards a pixel of light. We know this is the asteroid. So how does it know then to hop over to its moon as opposed to crashing into Didymos itself?
So once it gets close enough to where it can separately distinguish Dimorphos as another target, it basically has a logic set that it's we call it a target inclusion list. And so, it will continue to track onto Didymos or Didymos until it gets within a certain distance where it can separate the images cleanly.
Right.
Can't tell what my hands are. And then it's the commanding will tell it to, okay, I'm supposed to lock on to the less bright of these two, and then it will start ignoring Didymos and just concentrate on Dimorphos.
So it's going to get 2 dots, and it just goes for the smaller dot. Like I make it sound super easy. Isn't that easy? You just tell it to go for the smaller dot.
Essentially. Yeah,
okay, essentially.
Exactly.
A little more complicated than just that, but it's literally using this camera feed itself to steer itself towards the asteroid. Astronaut? Did I just say steer itself toward the astronaut? No, towards the asteroid. So let's see if we can't get a couple questions out of chat here. Again, y'all, we're getting live.
While you're doing that, just be sure this is not product endorsement.
You have to do the trick where you hold it like this. Like use your hand to hold the whole, but it's easier with the smaller cans too. Let's see here real quick. We're going to keep watching that. We've got some other cool graphics as well, but let me see if I can't grab a couple questions out of chat. Give me just a second. Elysia, do you have any more questions while I grab some of these?
Well, actually, I think maybe let's just do kind of a general overview. If anyone happens to just have stumbled across this random thing about NASA crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid for some crazy reason, just for those of you out there who have absolutely no idea what is going on and you just thought this looked pretty cool, Scott, could you just give us your elevator speech for what this actually is, DART mission?
I'm sorry. While you were asking me that, my son texted me and told me to put that soda down.
You need a koozie, like an APL or NASA koozie to go around the outside.
Koozie.
Yeah, exactly. You could just lean off camera if you're thirsty. Just lean off camera and drink.
I tried, but then it looks kind of stupid.
It's like, what's that guy doing? Jeez.
So I'm going to embarrass my son and give Logan a shout out.
Hi, Logan.
Hey, Logan. How's it going?
Watching.
Nice.
So in general now, how would you describe the DART mission to someone who has absolutely no concept what this is?
So DART is our first ever test of what we call the kinetic impact theory to attempt to divert an asteroid from its trajectory. If you think of like pool, you're playing pool. You know, if you hit the cue ball into the ball that you want to move, that it will go somewhere. if you know how to hit the cue ball correctly, you can send the target ball into whichever pocket you're aiming for. So essentially, we're playing galactic pool, or at least intersolar system pool.
Solar system pool, nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, with the Didymos system and its smaller secondary Dimorphos.
Also known as Diddy Moon among.
It was, yeah. Originally, they would call it Diddy Moon. We've called it everything from, the moonlet Diddy Moon. I don't know how they finally just, I guess, our wonderful Society of Naming Conventions ruled down and said, well, you can call it Dimorphos.
You might have gotten like a stern memo from someone saying, stop calling it Diddy Moon. The official name is this, right? Like.
Well, they had to propose it, and then it was accepted.
Okay.
They'll name asteroids after anything these days, even me, huh?
Jeez.
I have an asteroid named after me.
You do. You have an asteroid named after you. Luckily, NASA's not crashing into it today. But again, folks, if you're just joining us,
cool.
it would be cool. If you're just joining us, we are counting down just about 1 hour. We've actually got a countdown clock up in the upper left-hand corner there, and the expected impact for the spacecraft intentionally being crashed into the asteroid is now about an hour away. We're going to be here live with the folks from the mission team. Scott Bellamy is actually the mission manager for NASA's DART program. Mission. I don't know. Mission, is the mission the right way to say that?
Mission. That's
okay.
Good enough.
He knows. He's the mission manager. He should know how to say it. So he's going to be here doing some live Q&A. So I've got some questions that I've taken out of chat here. If we can grab some of these real quick. Is there a confidence level of how close you may hit the middle? Like, are you going to score yourself? Are you even going to know we hit the middle, we hit one edge, we grazed it? Like,
or does it matter where you hit it?
Does it matter? That's a good question.
It does. It actually does matter. We're actually trying to hit the center of mass, as closely as we can. But right now we're using the centroid. If you look at how, we're looking at Didymos, or right now, or Didymos right now.
Yeah.
It appears as separate pixels, and we can only see a certain number of pixels that are being illuminated on the detection plane. And each one of those pixels is a different level of brightness. Like this one's really bright right now, and some of the other ones are a little bit dimmer. So Draco is commanding or telling the system to command so that we actually are pointed at that brightest part of the image.
Makes sense. Scott, am I hearing people like cheer on occasion, or is that just an audio artifact?
No, it's actually just happened. They now have I don't know if she said that they have a lock on Dimorphos, but it's possible given our time frame and compared to the rest of the timeline that they may have just locked onto Dimorphos and start tracking to it.
That's great news.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
Awesome news.
So Scott actually has a little like a little speaker that's giving him a copy of the operations control stuff. We can't stream that like full quality to y'all, but Scott can sort of hear what's going on there and can relay some of that information to us. So Scott, if you hear people cheering, or you hear like a call out or something like that you want to relay to us, just tell us what's going on, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Getting live updates. That's amazing.
Live updates from the mission manager. Like, seriously? Thanks again, Scott, for spending time with us here. Another question. Right. So do we know the density of the target asteroid? Is it a pile of gravel that's like really loose? Is it a solid rock? Like, do you know what to expect? Are we just going to go fluff through it? Or is it solid? We're going to hit it? What's the expectation?
No, we don't know. We will not know until, we probably won't know until after impact is completed. And 2 years from now, when the Hera mission that ESA's building, once they arrive and start actually creating a complete visual record of what happened.
Yeah.
So right now we'll have an idea as we're approaching, because when we got to Bennu, originally we thought Bennu could be a solid object. We also thought that it could be a rubble pile.
Yep.
And we didn't know. The principal investigator for OSIRIS-REx was, trying to convince the science team that we were going to get to Bennu and find a nice sandy beach, and they would have plenty of locations to take sample. Once we finally got close enough to, resolve the surface of Bennu, there's a little bit of a panic because it looked like it was a rubble pile.
Yeah. Like, where will we land? Or sample,
Yeah,
I guess, not land, but
And when we actually went down to collect the sample during the touch and go sample attempt, we saw that the sample head was sinking further and further and further into the surface of Bennu. And so instead of just stopping and then having the spacecraft back it away, it kept going through. And the spacecraft finally said, "Hey, I've been doing this a little too long. I need to back away."
Right.
And
Wow,
so we don't need. Yeah. What?
Well, no, I was just going to say, so is there any concern that might happen with this? Maybe DART will collide, but won't actually, it'll just kind of smush and not really actually push it the way that is intended.
Very valid information.
Yeah. So that's one reason you're doing it, right? Like, you're going to impact this asteroid with the probe, and then you're going to observe the asteroid afterwards. I believe we're going to get some other imagery of it as well that'll take a little bit longer to come down. There's a CubeSat, I think, flying along with it that's going to try and image the impact, right?
The Light Italian CubeSat for imaging asteroids.
Nice.
Licia. We still can't agree on how to pronounce it, even internally. So some people say LICIACube.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had that pronunciation. But it was released basically 15 days ago. It was released from DART, and it is flying behind DART, approaching the system itself. And it will provide the first visual indications of how well we did. And so they will fly the CubeSat around Dimorphos and try to obtain as much imagery as they possibly can.
Yep.
Within 24 to 48 hours after today, we hope to actually get the first image that we can release from their spacecraft.
Gotcha. So everybody understands what we're talking about here. There's a CubeSat, and it was launched with DART, but then it separated from DART, right? And it was sort of like flying in formation almost right now. DART is using the camera that we were looking at to guide itself towards an impact, intentionally crashing into the asteroid, but the CubeSat is going to intentionally, hopefully, miss. And as it misses, it's going to fly by, but it's got cameras on board that are going to try to catch this impact and record the moment that the main spacecraft, the main probe, actually impacts the asteroid. And it's going to go and just keep going by and then send that imagery back to us. I was actually using NASA eyes here to check DART's rearview mirror and to see if I could see the CubeSat, but it's not on eyes apparently.
That actually leads to another question, though. So what is going to happen to this LICIACube afterwards? Is it going to just fly out into the universe, or is it going to get sucked into orbit around Didymos? What happens to Licia?
I've never asked the question, but it will continue on its trajectory until it stops.
I guess it doesn't matter, right? It takes the pictures, it sends it, and then whatever happens.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just going to coast along. It's just the CubeSat that was deployed, and it's not going to go on to explore Jupiter or anything like that. It's just going to end up in whatever orbit it ends up.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You should have put another Voyager record on it just in case.
Somebody finds a CubeSat just floating around the solar system in a few hundred years. What is this?
These pictures on it. What is this?
Yeah, seriously?
So it has a small amount of propellant on it, and it has some small thrusters on it, so it can, maneuver slightly. But, once that propellant's exhausted, it's stuck at whatever it was doing last.
Makes sense.
I read something else cool about it. So it's got 2 optical cameras on it. And Star Wars fans out there will be so happy to know the cameras are named Luke and Leia.
Of course.
And of course, they're acronyms because, of course, it's NASA. Luke stands for LICIACube Unit Key Explorer. Luke, and Leia is LICIACube Explorer Imaging for Asteroid. And they're two different types of cameras, but I do love that there's a Star Wars reference on board.
It was really convenient that Luke and Leia both start with L's and LICIACube started with an L, and they could just put that right there at the beginning of each acronym.
I mean, you don't think it was planned that way? Gosh.
Again, when I bring this screen up, folks, this is a live feed off the spacecraft. So this is the Draco camera, and the dot you see in the center of the screen, this is what the spacecraft is seeing right now. And over the next 52 minutes, as it approaches its impact target, this dot should get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's going to be sort of a... Yeah, it's like coming at you like this, right? And it's going to be, I think, not geometric progression, but it's going to be really small, really small, really small. Then as it starts to get big, I have a feeling it's going to get big pretty quickly once we get down to like 20 minutes. And at some point, Scott, we should see, like on this camera, the separate dot that is the asteroid. This is not the asteroid they're going to crash into. This is the parent asteroid, and we should get a little sub-asteroid dot on the side at some point, right?
Moon, yeah.
Yes.
The moon. You're right. There you go.
Sub-asteroid. Okay. The technical term, yes.
Sub-asteroid. The moon.
This image will continue to be transmitted until just shortly before impact itself.
Excellent.
We should see that whatever the last frame is that Draco sends down will be just seconds before impact.
So it's going to like take an image, and it's going to try to send that image to us, and wherever it hits the asteroid, that's where the image transmission is going to stop, clearly. We're going to have a lot of really good questions if it hits the asteroid and continues to transmit the image to us.
Yes.
Like, what just happened?
Or if the asteroid just goes by sideways.
It's like what? But it may very well get us half an image or something like that. Like, it could get us transmitted half the image and then hit the asteroid, and we'd never get the other half, right?
That's exactly right.
Oh, geez. Really quickly, are there any other observational assets that are going to be watching the Didymoon Dimorphos impact system? Are we going to have any ground-based telescopes looking at it? Are they pointing like James Webb at it? Is there anything else that's going to be trying to capture this from another angle?
We have an observatory on each of the 7 continents that will be imaging Didymos at some point here, either today or in the next few days, couple of days, as the world turns. That sounds familiar to some people out there.
Yep, nice.
James Webb is also currently targeting Didymos, and the Lucy spacecraft is going to be targeting as well.
Nice.
Now, don't get your hopes up that either James Webb or Lucy are going to be able to send us imagery showing the impact event as it happens.
Right.
But they will, maybe they will actually catch the photon burst when impact occurs.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll happen. We'll just have to see what kind of results we get back.
That's another fantastic question. Like, right now, the spacecraft is going at the asteroid, but we're not talking like it's going to, sort of bump into it, or even like a car crash, like, 35 miles an hour. Like, what's the relative velocity difference between this? How fast is it going to crash into the asteroid?
We are estimating. I'm sorry, I was trying to hear what was going on the audio.
That's fine. Sorry.
I just heard people clapping again.
Good sign. That's a good
Seems
sign.
like a good indication, right?
We want clapping.
It does, actually.
Yeah.
When DART impacts Dimorphos...
More clapping.
Yeah. When DART impacts, it's going to be approximately little over 13,500 miles an hour when it impacts.
13,500 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So you said photon burst. I mean, when you crash into it, it's not like, oh, now there's a dented up spacecraft embedded in the surface of the asteroid. It's like, is there expected to be anything left of the spacecraft? Is it going to like flash into different elements, or what happens to a spacecraft that hits?
Yes, it's going to completely vaporize.
It's going to vaporize.
All of DART will turn into an energy release.
Yeah. And it's going to kick up a bunch of ejecta, I guess, right, out of it. Is there any hope to maybe try to capture some of that? I don't, when like ESA is going to be sending like a reconnaissance later on. Is there any hope to try to study the actual moon itself based on what's been kicked up?
No, we won't actually be able to sample it if that's what you're asking, but they'll have some instruments on the ESA spacecraft that will, help kind of characterize, the structure of Dimorphos, but, we won't have any mass spectrometers sampling, dust like Europa Clipper is going to have. We won't be, taking dust samples to try to see what we can measure in that.
So you're not going to like knock a piece off of it and then try to catch that piece with another spacecraft, right?
No, we won't have what was the guy from Rudolph that was always running around with his ice pick and knocking off samples to taste them?
I totally know who you're talking about. That claymation or the stop motion Christmas movie.
Oh, I feel like I should know the name, but I don't know the name. Chat may know the name from Rudolph the Christmas movie there.
Yeah. But so because this is something that we know is going to happen, do you think that's something that could potentially be used if they want to sample bits of asteroids in the future? We just smash something into it and then kind of sail on by with a big net and like capture a bunch of stuff.
Didn't we try something like that with the predecessor to OSIRIS-REx? Not Genesis. What was the other one?
Was there one where we shot something through a comet or something? That's not an asteroid, though.
I can't believe I can't remember the name of the mission right now, but maybe it'll come to me later.
Yeah.
Did it work?
No, we lost the sample return capsule when it came back in. Stardust.
Right. Stardust. There you go.
Oh. Well, that's a good name for that, I guess.
Yeah, we tried to fly it through the tail of a comet.
Ah.
And so I keep looking over at this. It's really hard to see, but I want to believe that I can see another pixel appearing on this Draco camera right now. Like if I don't know. Look, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like in the upper corner, like up in this direction, right? There's like one more pixel that has appeared, and I hope it's not like dust on the camera lens or anything, but it really does look like there's another little dot. Oh, I don't know if y'all would be able to see that on the Zoom call, but chat might be able to see that if you like really zoom in. I hope that is what that is. Somebody can correct me.
So Scott, you also were working on the thrusters on this, right? The Next-C ion propulsion system.
Yes.
Is this something that actually is going to speed up as it goes in for impact, or are they going to maintain a steady speed as it's going in?
It's constant velocity. Next-C, the NASA Evolutionary Xenon Thruster, the C stands for the commercial version because another version of Next flew on a previous mission. So we upgraded Next to become Next-C, and it was put onto DART to become its primary propulsion as it left the solar system. Or left the solar system.
Right.
Left Earth's orbit.
Either way, yeah, the Earth system, I guess.
Went out into the
solar system.
I'm getting excited myself, sorry. Once we launched, we were injected into such a perfect trajectory that we didn't actually have to use Next-C to maneuver.
Yeah.
So we brought Next-C online. We put it through its initial test. It did a really long duration burn. After that, we had an upset in the electronics on DART. So the decision was made to put Next-C back into a standby state and leave it like that for the rest of the mission. It's there. It functions well. It's just that we didn't want to risk the primary mission by causing an upset of the electronics that we might not be able to recover from.
Right.
But we've had very small trajectory correction maneuvers over the past 9 odd months, however long it's been. So we've sailed right into a really great trajectory thanks to our partners in launch, and everything's been really good since then.
Excellent.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting to hear you say that, because the last time you were on, I don't think we'd even gotten to that phase yet. I think they were like just about to start doing something, or like just about to start rolling out the solar arrays.
Right.
And it was just so early. They had just launched it. So this is really cool to hear kind of how things have gone. What did we miss? And here we are.
What did we miss? Nice.
Full circle.
I hope we don't miss the asteroid. How's that? Can we say one thing we don't want to miss today is the asteroid? Let me grab a couple more questions out of chat here. And again, folks, we're taking questions from all the different places that people are watching. If you're on Twitch, or if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, just ask questions in chat, and I'll try to get some of them here. This is a great question for Scott. Scott, is DART built any differently, knowing that it was intended to crash into the asteroid intentionally? Like, certainly you couldn't make it more robust so it might bounce off or something like that. Like, that's not a possibility. It's going to vaporize when it hits, right? But did you do anything with it specifically because it was supposed to crash? Like, any special design?
Well, DART, part of DART was to show that we could, develop and manufacture and launch a spacecraft quicker than we normally do it. And cheaper. So DART is actually, it's not built with necessarily any less care than other spacecraft are built.
Okay.
It's built with less redundancy. It has almost no redundancy on it whatsoever. Which it goes back to what I was saying about after NEXC went through its very first really long duration burn. We didn't feel comfortable resuming use of NEXC going forward, because the system that was upset during that didn't have a backups. We didn't have an A side and a B side. We only had, the primary side, and that was it. So most of DART is built what we call single string.
Single string.
And one of the other things that we wanted to do was, we have, the standards that we work to when we're building spacecraft, depending on the classification of the spacecraft. It's, either, A, B, C, or D. Definitely. And we originally wanted to build DART as a Class D spacecraft, which meant that, where we would go really deep into some of the verification, some of the design details, and the verification, and the level of review. We wanted to only go to absolutely necessary levels, and then step back away from it and keep going. During the course of things, we went from, working to Class C or Class D levels to having to come up to Class C, because the community was, a little too concerned that this was a very high profile activity that, we didn't want to encumber too much risk.
Right.
And so we went back and, increased, we went a little bit deeper into the level of details of what we paid attention to during that.
Makes sense. So go ahead, Elysia.
Is the idea then, if let's say this works phenomenally and you get the results that you want, what do you hope that this technology leads to? So, like, do we build a bunch of bigger darts to launch out anytime we see like a bigger asteroid, like proportionally, or is there something else? Is it just the kinetic impactor, theory that you're trying to get information from? Is this the thing that you want to send out every time? What do you hope this leads to, or what do you think it will lead to?
Well, then obviously the first thing it's going to lead to is a better understanding of what we're trying to do.
Right.
We don't know anything about Dimorphos. We don't know anything about its composition, and we're going up against an unknown where we think that it's this type of asteroid and it might have this type of
composition.
Bonding. Composition and bonding. Once we get there, we're going to find out that we were talking earlier about it possibly being a rubble pile. If it's a rubble pile, how well did it work? Does something need to be done differently if we're going up against an asteroid that's possibly a rubble pile? And so the scientists are, they're going to be examining several things to help improve, their methodologies, their modeling techniques, and then it gives us globally a better understanding of, how solid is this approach to dealing with the potential of an asteroid that is coming at us that we need to actually do something with.
Yeah.
As to whether or not somebody decides to build, versions of DART in a variety of sizes and have them sitting on a shelf somewhere, ready to launch. I don't know if that's practical.
I don't know. I mean,
how much is it?
Well,
how much does it cost? I was going to say, how much does it cost to build and store?
Yeah.
I know that they run these exercises though, of like, oh, like what if something comes out of nowhere we're not expecting? So you think you'd have to have something ready to go just in case, right? Because if it does just come out of nowhere, I know you guys track them, but I would imagine like this does probably naturally happen from time to time, right? So you have asteroids that maybe collide with other asteroids in space. They knock them off their regularly scheduled path, right?
Yeah.
So how often do you see that happening? And if you do see something like that coming, can you maybe even study those collisions and look at, the impact of two asteroids and the angle and how fast it was going in order to get some of the same data?
Lots of good questions.
Yeah. That's why we launched the mission.
Yeah.
To answer some questions.
Personally, I'm hoping that somebody decides that they want to build a few and have them, stored and ready to go. I don't know who's going to step up to that or who would pay for that, but it'd be, comforting to know that somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking about, like Chelyabinsk, it came out of nowhere. It was like a surprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Happy day, Russia, where I'm here to visit.
And that's like the asteroid that knocked down all the trees. The impact that was the big event in Russia that nobody really knew it was coming. Then all of a sudden, what was that explosion and what happened to all these trees, right?
What was that explosion? What is the explosion? What happened to all the windows in our building?
There you go.
Yeah.
And, that was, 2013. So that was only, 9 years ago?
Yep. I think one of the big things that we're going to learn from this is, can we really affect an asteroid by crashing into it? And the answer probably might be, well, it depends on the asteroid. Because if it's just a loose collection of like rocks and dust that sort of like hang out together because they don't have anything better to do, right? Like they're literally just very weakly bound by gravity between themselves. We may hit it and it just goes, poof. And it's
but
not
if one of those were to head towards us, they would probably
maybe they would just all break up.
Atmosphere anyway.
Yeah.
But moving together, it might look bigger. You're right. That's interesting.
So just like what happens exactly when we crash a physical impactor like DART into a bunch of rocks flying in very close formation, right? It's not a solid one hard asteroid, but it's just a bunch of really loose stuff that's sort of all near each other. Like, I wonder how we'd be able to move that. How would we actually be able to impact that versus if we hit something that's a solid object, like most of the asteroid is one big solid piece, and we crash one solid piece into another solid piece, like pool balls you were saying earlier, Scott. Maybe that would allow us to affect the trajectory a little bit more than something where we lose a lot of the impact energy because it just goes thump, and it's a big plume of ejecta or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think I sort of summarized that correctly, I guess.
It sounds great to me.
Okay.
And what you're hoping to see here then too is it slowing down then, is that correct? You're hoping to knock off like 10 minutes from its orbit around Didymos, correct?
Did I give you the 10 minutes? I don't remember telling you that number.
Oh yeah, I think you said that the last time.
Were we supposed to know that? Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, you leaked that back in December, I suppose then.
So officially we have to produce a change of at least 73 seconds. We need to slow down Dimorphos in its orbit by at least 73 seconds. That's the minimum of what we could be able to observe from Earth.
Okay.
That's why it's 33 seconds. The estimates that we had a few months ago, several months ago when we got them, was that if we hit Dimorphos where we are targeting, we're hoping to see on the order of 10 minutes change in its period, 10-minute change in its period.
And that's significant, right? Because the orbit's, what, like 12 hours, I think?
It's just under 12 hours. It's 11 hours and some odd minutes.
So that'll be definitely noticeable. And that, I assume if it was something that was a bigger orbit coming towards us, that would be like the butterfly effect. You'd really, over time, and depending on where you hit it, it would really move it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we needed to, we could hit it a few times maybe. Like if we, launched a mission that had a few darts and we're like, thap, 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 and we hit something 4 times or 10 times or whatever's needed.
Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, depending upon how far away it is something less than a degree of change in trajectory would cause it to, miss Earth completely. So, it's just like it's just like when you're, working on something in your house, and what started out as a really small error here, by the time you got all the way down to the other wall, it's a huge gap.
Yep, just a little nudge early on can make a big difference over time, right? And I think I've got that. I mean, we're talking about this, but I've pulled the illustration that sort of shows how that works. And so there you have a Dimorphos and keep saying
Didymoon.
All I can think of is Didymoon now. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I can say. So there's Dimorphos in Didymos, and we're watching it, and it's in this orbit, right? This is what we're observing right now. And the plan is, pow, there's the DART spacecraft, and it's going to go in and, how do we say that? LICIACube, right? LICIACube. And there's the impact, and then since we're hitting it sort of head-on in a head-on collision, we slow it down a little bit, and then there's this new orbit, and we're going to try to observe, here's the old orbit, we crashed into it, here's the new orbit, and then here's how much, I guess you could even say, energy we imparted to the orbiting asteroid by crashing the spacecraft into it, right? Partially.
Yeah. Hera is going to help us determine that part.
Gotcha.
So what we're actually going to be measuring, though, is the change in as it crosses in front of Didymos, between the observatories and it changes the brightness of Didymos.
Okay.
And so what we're looking for is, right now we know we've characterized it, and we understand it's like, this is the transitioning of Dimorphos across the face of Didymos as we observe it. Here's the dimming. Here's where it increases.
Right.
And so we've been observing the period of that, the changes in the light curve. So that's what we're going to be observing next, is to see how much we've changed that cycle.
Okay.
That's actually how they look for exoplanets as well, I believe. It's kind of that dimming every so often to see what it's rotating around the star. That's so interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to draw a terrible graph here, but like you're looking at the main asteroid in the middle, right? And the brightness is like this. And then when the smaller asteroid moves between you and the camera, does the brightness dim a little bit, and you see the brightness dim some, and then it passes back and then it goes back to its normal brightness. And that dip is when, like, say you're looking at it from this direction, that dip is when some of the light is being blocked by the smaller asteroid, right? And so you've been observing the length of time that it takes it to do that. And if you're able to slow down the asteroid or make it orbit more quickly, or I guess it would be a faster orbit with a shorter period if you hit it, right? You should change the size of this dip a little bit, and that's what's going to tell you that you changed the orbit. Did I get that right?
Close enough.
Close enough. Close enough for not working at NASA officially, right?
So, I mean, you'll have Andy online in 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. All right. So how are we doing on time here? It's 30 minutes from the expected impact. Scott, we've got you for about another 10 minutes here. Let's see if we can't get a couple more questions out of chat and see if we've got a few more. Just change the orbit. Did he minimus? It's not minimus. That's in Kerbal. This is a great question. If we hit a little off center, right? Like say we don't hit it right on the center of mass, but we hit it a little off center, is it possible that we might spin it some too? And do we have any way that we can actually observe the spinning or any rotation we impart to it? It sounds like we have a visitor here waving at Scott really quickly. Again, he's there at mission control. He is giving us time just before the call here, and it looks like somebody knocked on the door and was saying hey to him real quick. No big deal at all. Hello, visitor.
She left.
She can join you. That's cool.
Yeah. As soon as she figured out, apparently they didn't tell her that I was on this, but as soon as she figured out that I was live, she left.
You need like a big sign on the door that says live right now so they know. They just.
I should have. I thought about it, but I didn't find the handy paper to grab.
Like frantically hold up the sign for the people knocking on the door. I'm checking back in with the live Draco camera here, and
It's
the
bigger.
dot is bigger and the other dot is more obvious now. Like you can really see that there are two little things in the distance that are getting closer, right?
Maybe you can from your view.
I don't see a second dot yet. Do you see it?
I think y'all might not be able, like if you're watching it in Zoom, you're probably not able to see it, but just believe me, there is a dot, like right, I'm putting the
Anyone
mouse.
else see it?
It's there.
Oh,
Chat.
Actually,
some people in chat say
yeah.
2 dots. Okay.
Yeah.
I can actually see it.
Oh, yeah, I think it's our foggy back end Zoom thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yes, everyone's saying yes, there is a dot. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yes, there's a dot.
there's definitely
Got
a
it.
dot there. Yeah.
Yeah, I went full screen. And then zoomed in on your Zoom, so it's actually there.
It's actually there. So we're now just under 30 minutes away from the expected impact. Again, I guess, Scott, let's talk really quickly. How will you know that it worked?
Well, you mentioned part of it a few minutes ago when you said the Draco will stop streaming.
That's a
And
good
so
I
indication.
think that's the biggest indicator, basically. Like we don't see it anymore. It gets bigger and then it stops.
The camera and its antenna have been vaporized, so it is no longer sending you video. That's a good indication you hit it.
It's a very good sign.
And then, DART is in, constant communication with the Mission Operations Center. It does have a heartbeat signal that it sends out. Also, DSM will, continue to communicate with DART for some unspecified amount of time after the planned impact, and then DSM will report to us that they confirm loss of signal.
Yep. And I don't know if that's going to show up on DSN Now, but that's actually one of the things we've shown on the screen here before. You can actually, if you just search for DSN Now, there's a website that shows you the different dishes in the Deep Space Network and what they're talking to. And you can see right now down in Australia at the Canberra station, there are 2 different dishes that are both talking to DART. So I don't know if it's going to stay on Canberra. I guess that's 30 minutes, how fast does the Earth turn, yada, yada, yada. But literally an indication is that the signal stops, right?
Yes. That will be a literal indication that's either we impacted or flew close enough to knock the antenna off.
To knock the... It's a very Kerbal thing where you fly so close to the moon that you knock a piece off your spacecraft.
Like tuck your rear view mirror in as it's squeaking through the side there.
Lose a solar panel or something like that as you go by. But that is still coming up here. Let's see if we can continue watching this. I mean, I can't get over this is now 2 different asteroids that the spacecraft itself can see as the camera sort of approaches the asteroid. Scott, I was going to ask really quickly, there are 2 things on this view that NASA's giving us. There's the ROI box within Draco FOV, and then there's the image, like on the left and right sides. Why is the one sort of like moving around? You see how that the ROI box is like tracking across the box? Is that the spacecraft maneuvering, or why is that moving?
I honestly don't have the answer to that question because we were talking about it earlier, but I don't know that I was engaged enough in that discussion to retain that. But we were talking about the fact that you remember a second ago where on the left frame you drew a little red circle around.
Yep.
Didymos.
Yep.
So in the ops center here, we have one that's tighter than that. It's around Didymos itself, or Dimorphos itself. Sorry, Didymos itself.
I can't keep them straight either.
And part of that, it's related to the autonomous system, and it tells us that we're on autonomous tracking. And occasionally they will see the tracking log go way off the screen, but it's an artifact. It's not actually that it lost track.
Okay.
It's just something that's going on that causes it to wander around.
Okay.
Now, why this one on the right-hand panel, seems to be wandering around that particular box that's displayed within, not completely certain.
Why it's moving around.
No, I wish I had the answer for you on that one, but I don't.
That's all good. We totally put you on the spot with it, and I appreciate you being here answering some live questions for us.
I have a question that you probably will be able to answer because it's something I know you're working on. So a little bit about how we find these things out there, right? I know you guys selected this in particular, this system, because it's observable from here on Earth. And I know it was only a year to get there, basically. But in terms of finding these potentially hazardous asteroids, right now we've got NEOWISE, the Near Earth Object Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, but you are working on kind of the next generation of that, correct?
I was, which is NEOSurveyor.
Yes.
When I took over the Europa Clipper mission, I had to give a few things up.
Right.
So I had to give up OSIRIS-REx. I had to give up NEOSurveyor. I even gave up DART for a couple of years. And then the guy that was replacing me on DART decided to take a promotion and went up to Glenn Research Center. So I came back for DART. Came back to DART since we only had a few months left before today. But NEOSurveyor is like you said, it's the next generation, basically the next generation NEOWISE for all intents and purposes. NEOSurveyor is going to help us see asteroids that don't lend themselves to observation with optical cameras, optical telescopes, or even radio telescopes, because we don't know they're there.
Right.
So you have asteroids that have really low albedo. They don't reflect light as well. So both of NEOSurveyor's cameras are in the basically in the low infrared frequencies, so that we can try to find them wherever they are hiding.
Right.
And NEOSurveyor will once it finally launches, and I don't have a date for that yet, so please don't ask.
We won't.
Once it finally launches, it will go out and it'll park in the Lagrange point that's ahead of the Earth. So the Earth's on the Lagrange point, that's the 4 point, and it will be staring along a particular corridor for, what's there? What are we missing?
Sounds like there's more clapping on the
clapping.
Yeah.
Clapping.
Well, that was the critical T-minus 20 minute before impact that's just coming up there, and there's like a changeover point there, right, Scott?
Yes.
We'll listen for a second.
Yeah, good stuff happening.
We're going to be working towards Dimorphos, actually going to the subverse. We're about 4,500 miles away from Didymos and Dimorphos, so let's see what happens.
So it's T-minus 20 minutes, and we have just resolved Dimorphos as an image.
All right.
I can see it now, by the way.
Thank
see
you.
The dot.
It's getting closer and closer.
Getting bigger. It's definitely happening.
And that's why we got all of the clapping there.
This is great.
For sure.
I wish they put that on the live stream. That'd be really cool for everybody to see.
So Scott, I know that we were going to let you go and be with the team directly as we got within the 20-minute mark here. I want to say thank you so much, but also not spend too much time doing it so that you can go and be with the team during the impact. And I do have Andy Cheng here who's going to be joining us. So really quickly, folks, a massive thanks to Scott Bellamy, mission manager for the NASA DART mission here, spending an hour of his time on the impact day right before it happens here, just hanging out with us and talking about what's going on with the mission. I am going to swap in real quick another scientist, but Scott, you are free to go and enjoy this event, this massive achievement, even just to get this close and get these images back with the rest of the team. Thank you so much for joining us here before the impact.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thanks, appreciate it. Love you guys.
All right, we're going to let Scott go.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. And this is, that's one way to do it. We'll just put that back in there. This is going to be a little tricky, folks, because we weren't quite set up to do this exactly the way we thought, but we'll just turn that camera
Usually you've
on.
got a pre-show to help you out with this, Doss.
I'm working on it. Let's see if we can get
Someone usually does that. I don't know who that is.
And I get to turn my camera off. Let's let Andy in here, and we will tell Andy that he is going to be live as soon as he joins. I've got him on the call, and I'm just waiting for his camera to turn on. There we go. We've got a camera, and we're going to have a name correct there as well. Andy, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome.
You are still Scott. I'm going to fix that for you real quick. But Elysia, talk to Andy for a second while I type.
No problem. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we just had a very exciting moment. Very critical announcement from the team on the I'm watching the NASA feed on the side here.
Nice.
Yeah, we heard lots of clapping in the background from Scott, so that's always a good sign.
Yes, that's one of that was actually the most critical milestone.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful! You must be so relieved.
Yes, I'm feeling better and better.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, we've been watching the Draco feed, and it's getting bigger. So
it is
always a good sign.
Yeah, not only that, if you look at it carefully, it's been true for the last 10 minutes or so. You can see Dimorphos.
Yep.
If you look to the little bit to the right and a little bit up from the main blob, you have the very little faint smudge. That's what we're actually now precision locked on. That was the big thing, that the spacecraft has to see the little dot, because before, an hour ago, that little dot was actually behind Didymos.
Yep.
It could not see it. Spacecraft is not able to see its target
Oh.
until about an hour before the impact. So it has to see, a new little blob has come out, and then recognize that little blob is that is Dimorphos.
Yep.
And then it has to transition. It's locking on. It's not going to target Didymos anymore. It's now going to target. Because if it didn't do anything, the spacecraft would have hit Didymos.
Yeah, I was asking that earlier. How did it know to switch? But that's what it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have hit Didymos, and we don't want that. We want it to hit the moon.
Yep.
Right.
And so now the spacecraft is precision locked on its correct target. And so that was, lots of clapping.
Awesome.
It's good to hear the clapping. Andy, could you point your camera down just a hair for us real quick? I got you barely on the, there we go.
There we go.
Now you can see that Andy is actually on the team because he's got a shirt that says DART on it.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I have a DART shirt on it. Yes.
So everyone, this is Dr. Andy Cheng. He's the chief scientist for planetary defense at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. And you're the lead investigator for DART. Is that correct? Can you tell us a bit about what you do?
Yes. Oh, well,
in a nutshell. I know you probably know everything.
Yes. Okay, no, we're just leading the investigation team. I'm doing and early on, of course, as a lead investigator, I had to help formulate the mission, decide what help NASA decide what the mission's supposed to do, and then how we go about doing it, and what are the requirements for all of our instruments, and also help to set up the telescopic campaign. So that was, yes. We
And
have a
I
lot
feel
of
like
telescopes.
we're kind of in the presence of a celebrity right now, because I read somewhere that you are actually the guy that came up with the idea behind DART in general.
Yes, that's
So was
right.
this like an assignment, or did you just like have a dream about it one day? How did you come up with this?
It's one of these light bulb moments, It was in the morning. I do exercises in the morning. I have not been doing it lately. I should be, but in 2011 I did. Got up in the morning, went down to the basement and did some, stretching and calisthenics and stuff. And in one of those, it was in 2011 in the wintertime, early in the year, and it just light bulb idea.
Wow.
I said, hey, this is the way. We were thinking about, NASA should do a planetary defense mission. Planetary defense is something NASA should be involved in. And then thinking about what should we do? And then I realized that a kinetic impactor test at a binary system, this kind of a binary system,
Yep,
is the right way to go about doing it. The reason being that if we hit the moon of an asteroid binary, we can measure the effect of that with ground-based telescopes without needing a second spacecraft in the system.
right.
So that was the key step, because paying for two spacecraft is a lot less attractive than the notion of paying for one.
Yep.
And that's how we got going.
I think we lost your camera right quick. I don't know if you're accidentally turned off your camera or if we intentionally. We can still hear you just fine. There you go.
Yeah, I might have turned it off. I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. I thought maybe you needed to get up and dance or something because another call came in, so you turned off the camera real quick.
Exercising. Exercising brings great ideas.
Was doing the exercise. Nice.
Yes.
All right. So we are coming up on 10 minutes before the impact now, and
It's bigger.
God.
It's bigger. Yeah, you can see that the Didymos, the main guy, I'm already seeing that it's top shaped.
Top shaped.
Like this.
Okay.
This is the equator of the main guy.
Yeah.
It has the shape of, they call it a top or a bun or something. That's the kind of shape we know that the primary has.
Right.
Our target is actually the moon. We have no idea what this guy looks like. And I guess we still don't. It's still just a tiny dot.
It's a couple dots. Yeah, it's a dot.
I still can't see much. But we're going to be very, very interested in seeing whether this guy is elongated, like this model shows.
Yep.
Because that makes a big difference in the response to the impact, whether he's elongated or he's a roundish body.
Yeah, so I was going to say, how do you know where to target if you don't know what shape it is? Do you just look for the lightest?
Well, they're going to aim for the middle.
The dot.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the center of the dot.
Yep. Going to aim for the middle. No. And so DART doesn't really care it affects, if it's really long and skinny, it becomes a much more difficult target to hit. So we don't want to, we don't want it to get too long and skinny. But as I said, as scientists, I'm very interested in knowing exactly how elongated this secondary body is.
Yeah.
The other thing we want to know is whether the secondary body is a single rocky, what we call a shard. So it's just maybe a single boulder. I mean, there are single boulders we see on other asteroids that are as big as the DART target.
Right.
There is one on there's one on Ryugu. His name is Otahime, and about the same size. Well, so it could be a single rock. That would be scary, but okay. Or it could be what we call a rubble pile. So lots of smaller pieces that are all just hung together, maybe only by their own gravity.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the amount of deflection that DART achieves, how much we change the period is greatly affected by all these things. So I'm very curious to know. That's one of the things we hope to learn from DART is just how much of a deflection we get. And oh, by the way, we're also going to learn a lot of things we didn't know before about asteroids, how they're put together, how strong they are.
Yep.
And that has implications for how they form too.
Yep.
Because it's all about, collisional evolution. These asteroids are formed. It's very likely true that this asteroid, Didymos, the whole system formed as a result of a catastrophic breakup of something else by a collision.
Right.
When they came together, they gravitationally reaccumulated, and exactly how that happens, that it gravitationally reaccumulated as one body, and then some of it spun off to make the moon, or did they actually accumulate into two separate bodies? That kind of question. Hopefully we can say something about that once we get detailed views of what Didymos and Dimorphos look like.
Yep. Well, I think we're going to get a detailed view. The view gets more and more detailed the closer we get here.
I know it's going to come in 10 minutes.
Yep. What you were saying, so people understand this. We don't know exactly what the target is. Like, is it one solid object? Is it like a bag of rocks? Is it like what's the density of it? How is it stuck together? And when we intentionally crash this spacecraft into it, that's going to tell us about the structure of it. Like if we just punch it and it's like punching a pile of feathers and it just goes, right? We may not get as much effect on it, but if it's like punching, well, okay, don't punch any bowling balls or anything like that. That's a bad analogy. But if you were to like push on a bowling ball versus push on a pile of feathers, you could push the bowling ball easier than pushing a pile of feathers, right? Exactly, and so when you intentionally crash into this thing, that's going to help you understand how it's made up, like what it's made of actually. And that, in terms of planetary defense, helps us understand how we could affect the trajectory. Because imagine we had a bunch of rocks flying at us in really close formation. They're just sort of gravitationally bound to each other. We might hit that with a probe and not be able to affect it as much because a lot of the kinetic energy is just lost in the poof. I don't even know what noise it would make, right? Versus if you have a solid...
It wouldn't make noise because it's in space.
It would make noise, but we couldn't hear it.
Yes.
I don't know. We'll let Andy answer that one for us.
No. Well, we couldn't hear it, but yes, it certainly matters whether it's a rubble pile, so it's a lot of particles that are loosely bound together.
Yep.
And so you lose a lot of your impact, just as you said, a lot of the impact energy is lost when you crush the pore spaces between them, and the particles have to be slide against each other and so on. So it does not deflect as readily as if it was an intact rock.
Yep.
Because then, in fact, it turns out that the amount of momentum you put into the target can be 3 or more, 5 times even the momentum that the spacecraft, your kinetic impactor, puts in. And so it makes a big difference. In
like
what
it is you're actually hitting and how the energy is transferred. We were talking earlier about the spacecraft itself is just going to be vaporized. It's not like there's going to be a crumpled up spacecraft.
It's going to be shattered. It won't be turned into vapor.
Okay.
But it will be broken into a zillion pieces.
A zillion pieces. And some of those are going to go in every direction. Like some of them are going to end up in.
Some of them come back out, but most, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more of asteroid material that comes back out. And LICIACube, our Italian CubeSat, is going to be taking pictures of all that. And they're part of the story too. They're on their way. They were released about 2 weeks ago from DART, and they've done their 2 orbital correction maneuvers successfully, and the camera has been tested, and 2 cameras are on board, and they're both working. So yeah,
yes, I think they released that beautiful image of Earth, right?
Yes, beautiful.
Oh yeah, that crescent. That was so cool.
Yes, that's right. So that's LICIACube and some of its commissioning activities. Yes, and so they're following right behind DART, and they will fly by the system 167 seconds after the DART impact, and they'll take pictures of what we did.
Yeah. And how soon after will we start getting those back?
In a day or 2, it turns out. So tomorrow, we may already have something back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow evening, probably.
God, I gotta say real quick, like it's getting to the point where you can actually see sort of a gradient on the target, right? On the moon.
I have to look.
Yeah. Like
it doesn't feel real. This is crazy.
There's a dark side.
Yeah. I see that.
God. So
it looks like it's not. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Like there's a shadowed side and a bright side right now. Like we're beginning to resolve that. And every now and then it sort of goes off to one side. I'm like, oh, go back, like aim at it again. But these cameras, folks, the cameras that we're looking at, this is a live feed off the spacecraft that is going to impact the moon. It's going to crash into the asteroid intentionally, and it's sending us this live feed. Not quite real time. I think it's like a 45-minute delay before the image actually gets back to us and gets put together and then all the way to us, right?
Yeah, most of that is just the light travel time between Didymos and Earth.
Yep. But this...
it's pretty much real time. The spacecraft is basically pumping the pictures back as fast as it can, and they're going back to NASA and then shipped out to here and processed on the ground, basically also as fast as we can do it. So as you said, it's almost it's almost in real time. It's something like 40 seconds after
Yeah.
it happens on Didymos. You're seeing it on your TV here.
Gosh. This is just the coolest thing.
Wow.
We're
Like,
living in the
Yeah.
future, you guys. This is amazing.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's unbelievable.
Um,
It is just unbelievable. I'm not willing to say anything yet about exactly what we see on Didymos.
okay.
But it looks bouldery to me. Like I just said it.
You're not going to say it, but it looks sort of bouldery. I mean, you can see it. It looks like there's a little bit of gradient, like there's
It looks lumpy.
a shape. Yeah.
No, it definitely has a shape. It's this shaped body, and you're looking at it sort of like this.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the top and the equatorial ridge around it.
Yep.
So that much is clear. But it's looking what I would say it looks lumpy.
Lumpy.
And I don't see any well, there's one in the bottom there, right at the bottom. There's that round sort of dark area. That could be a crater.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
And is Dimorph or Didymos?
Yes.
The big one. Oh gosh, I'm getting
Didymos, the big one.
Didymos.
yeah.
Is that how you expected it to look? Is that exactly like
Yes,
what you
yes.
thought it
We-
would look like?
yeah.
Okay.
We already have radar shape models of Didymos. So Didymos is big enough that it actually was imaged by radars back in 2003. So yes, we did expect it to look like that. It's correct.
Yeah. Andy, we're coming up on go time here. I don't know, were you going to step away to be in mission control?
Well,
or-
actually, if you just let me go ahead and stare at the image every now and then, I'm happy to keep talking to you.
Sure.
Please, yes.
I also have the NASA mission control feed, which is down to 2 minutes here, and I'm going to
Yeah.
send some of that audio in here as well so we can hear what the team is saying.
To move another
Okay, good.
celestial body, and also our first attempt ever to execute a
And
mission
Elysia, are y'all getting that
with
right
the
now?
sole purpose of planetary defense. So
No,
what
I'm
an
not hearing
exciting time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see Dimorphos start to come into view there. You
Okay.
can see it starting to take shape. I'm starting to see individual boulders on Didymos. Unbelievable clarity
Look
of
at-
the images there.
Sticking off.
Yeah, sticking off the limb. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so it looks
All eyes
Guys.
on this event, space telescopes, ground telescopes from every continent on Earth.
There's a... Wait.
right. Every continent on Earth, 7 continents, including Antarctica. We've got telescopes.
Does not look
looking
like
at
one
this
single
event.
rock to me.
Oh, boy, we're
There's
getting
another
close.
part on the side of
14,000
it.
miles per
Look at the
hour
target and look to the lower left of
14,000
the
miles
target.
per hour, and remember,
That's
you know,
shadowed region in between. It says
45
it's
minutes
an
ago,
elongated
55
body. It
minutes
looks
ago, we
like,
couldn't even
and
resolve
there's a
this-
big, large
this
concavity
object
there,
in
so it's
space,
shadowed.
and
It's
now
interesting.
we are
Yeah.
see us zeroing in right on target.
It is. Look at that.
Yeah. And so now Dynamo, we're getting close enough that the
Right.
camera can't keep both objects in view at the same time.
Yep.
Imagine we'll get that
And look
loss
at
of
those
signal, and we'll
boulders
hear
that's
from
sticking off
Lena
the
Adams
side.
again, letting us know.
On Dynamos, yeah.
that we-
Those are huge boulders.
Crystal clear
No kidding.
signal.
This is amazing. And we're listening to Mission Control. Andy, you want to say something? Just tell us what you're seeing on the screen. I can mix the audio back and
Okay,
forth.
I'm
Gone
looking
out
at
of
what
view.
look
We're
like
now just seeing
boulders and craters on Didymos. Sorry, on Dimorphos.
Yeah. Look
And as
at
you said,
this.
yes, there is a concavity. So that probably is a crater.
Yeah.
Right at the limb there.
I mean, we're getting shadows now. You can see shadows
Yes.
of objects on the surface in the shadowed
right,
area behind it. No kidding.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, so it's actually a cratered body. That's interesting. I mean, is that craters or is that the shadows of boulders? I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
the various rocks on the surface.
Mission Control is still cheering there. They just said 30 minutes from impact on my feed that I'm getting and piping through here.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is great. We're heading straight for the target.
Like we're headed
As you
straight
can see,
in.
it's getting bigger and bigger. We're going to hit that big lobe right there.
Look at that. This is a good shape? Like this isn't a really skinny shape. This looks like a good target, right?
Yeah.
Looks like a good target. The elongation is as we expected. It's not extreme, but it's enough that we're going to have to see how big it is. I don't know. It's in the interesting range where you're going to have very complicated rotational dynamics of this body after guard hits. So not only do we deflect it, but we're going to cause it to tilt. Wow, look at all those boulders.
Okay.
Wow.
We are going to stay with this feed right here. And Andy, just keep telling us what you see. We've only got a couple frames left.
Okay, it looks like we are heading into a flat area. I can see where we're going to land. We're going to have big boulders right next to us. That's going to have a huge effect on the impact. Oh my goodness. This is getting
Look
close.
at this.
Yep. This is it's about it. We're coming there we go. All right, dart hit.
Look at that.
That's the last image, yes.
Yes, we did it!
Do you have pom-poms, Elysia? You're like, cheer.
I do, because this is amazing.
And so
that was so cool.
Andy, I mean, you hit it. Like, we have a partial image, and we have a partial image because the spacecraft crashed in the middle of sending us the latest picture, right?
That's even cooler. That's the best image.
Yes, of course, that is the best image, and the one before that is really cool. It's clear there's a big cluster of boulders that looks like just on one side of the image of the impact point. So we're hitting in a sort of flat area that's with a bunch of really big boulders right next to it. So that's going to have an effect on our impact. It's going to make my life harder in terms of analyzing what the ejector are doing. But anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's great.
Look at this. I brought back like the last frames right before impact, so I rewound it just a little bit so we can look at it. But look at the detail. I thought it was just going to be like a blurry dot or something like this. And there's individual boulders.
Individual rocks, yes.
Yeah.
The image resolution.
Good, though.
Yeah, the image resolution.
Yeah. What's the resolution?
Of those last images, it's between 5 and 10 centimeters per pixel. So we're talking about blob rocks that you could hold in your hand, the beach ball sized.
No kidding.
Yeah, and yeah, it looks like a very bouldery surface. I don't know that there's any fine particles in there. It doesn't look like there are any, which is interesting. That's also the way Bennu looked.
Okay.
And so, wow.
This is amazing. I mean, this is a live image that's like hot off the wavelengths, I guess you could say, from an asteroid that you've just intentionally crashed a space probe in.
Yes,
how are you feeling?
Yes.
How are you feeling right now? Yeah.
Well, relief that we hit the asteroid, and yes, and as I said, we're going to have a very interesting time trying to figure out what we did. But we did it. Yes.
Gosh, congratulations.
Yes. Such a relief.
You're going to sleep well tonight, I'm sure.
No kidding.
Yes.
This is amazing. Again, y'all, the last images coming in here, I rewound it a little bit, but what we got, here's the final image. And it's a final image because the spacecraft was hurtling towards the asteroid that it wanted to crash into on purpose, and it sent us as much of this image as it could before it stopped working because it crashed. And that's this image right here. God.
Let me see it again. Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah. This is just Andy, do you want me to back it off and play it again as it comes up to it?
Sure.
Is that yeah?
Great, yeah.
Okay. I can do that. I'm in charge here. Let's back it off. I mean, look at this. Look at
this is amazing. Yeah.
What might this be over on the side? There's like
on the bottom.
Bright area. What could that be?
Well, I don't know. That's what we're going to be looking at.
God. And okay, I gotta go back and forth now because each frame has so many interesting things to look at. Like if I pause right here, look at the edge and look at the boulders sort of sticking up off the edge.
Yeah, like teeth.
So you said this is not what you were expecting it necessarily to look like. You thought it'd be more cratered, and now instead it's more bouldered.
It's very bouldery. It looks like Bennu. So that's actually interesting. That these two objects, because Bennu and Dimorphos Didymos are different compositional types. Because Bennu is a carbonaceous asteroid, so it's whereas Didymos and Dimorphos are ordinary chondrite-like, so they're more rocky composition.
Okay.
Not full of organics.
Okay.
So, it's a completely different compositional type. Nevertheless, it looks very similar.
It's like the physics work the same, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, we think that's one of the questions is if it's an ordinary chondrite-like body, would it be much stronger? In other words, because the ordinary chondrites, these are meteorites, and we recover them on Earth. We have them in our lab, and they're rocks. They're hard rocks.
Yep.
Okay, so. they come from something. Actually, in fact, they come from asteroids. It's where the meteorites are pieces of asteroids. They fall to Earth. But maybe so people were saying, well, maybe the asteroids' surfaces are actually pretty strong too. And well, we don't know. So that's one of the things we're going to find out when we see the other data sets. Okay, so NASA is now showing something silly. Well,
are they?
I didn't say that. I wanted to see the replay of the final images, but they're not showing that. Okay.
Well, luckily you know a guy who can do a replay of the final images.
Yeah.
How far back do you want to go? Like,
Okay.
here we go. There is where the parent body sort of starts to go out of frame. So do you want me to just play it forwards from here? This is the last 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Double asteroid redirection test.
Okay.
And do we think Didymos is actually like similar in composition then? Actually, it's got that boulder poking out of it, you can see.
Planet strikes back. First time in our planet's history.
Is that the planet striking back? Is that coming from you, Andy?
Yeah, I'm just shutting it down.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I was.
I heard that
I was
too.
like, what the hell's? I was getting confused myself. But
Where's this audio
End
coming
of the
from?
dinosaurs.
Yes. Okay. Yes. It's the Earth. The Earth hits back. Yes.
It's the revenge of the dinosaurs. What did we call it earlier, Elysia? The dinosaur asteroid revenge trajectory or something like that?
I've been saying Revenge of the Dinosaurs. Why not?
Revenge of the
Revenge
dinosaurs.
of the
I guess that
dinosaurs.
means we're the dinosaurs, but yeah.
Yes. Of course, we should pick on a bigger guy.
God. This is like, I thought it was going to be a blurry image, and as we got closer, it was going to be like a bigger blurry image and a bigger blurry image, and I did not know what to expect. And what you see on the screen here, this is like the last 45 seconds now, Andy, just replaying here. I thought it was just going to be a fuzzy dot, and we were going to hit the fuzzy dot. And
The quality is stunning. Seriously.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna have a lot to do on the science team
Yeah.
to try to understand what we did.
Yep. You can update your desk model now.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we'll do that. We can update the desk model. We have. Oh, yeah. It does look like it's and it's not obviously very elongated. The moon, it is elongated enough, I think, that we're going to be asking ourselves exactly the question: what is it? Is it elongated enough so that it might be tumbling now?
It's sort of egg-shaped, it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I meant by elongated. It's not, it's not a spherical body. It is elongated. But just to the eye, it's hard to tell how elongated. It's very critical. There's an axis ratio of 1.3, which we think is a critical number. It marks different dynamical regimes for what the body will be doing after we hit it. So no matter, even if we hit the moon dead center, this moon would be rotating, as I indicated. It could be rotating in different ways afterwards.
Yep.
And exactly what that motion looks like depends on how elongated it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I was interested in. That I'm also interested in the surface, as you know, is it rocky there? Does it look like there's a smooth layer of fine material? Okay, there isn't. That's obviously very true. There is not a fine layer, a smooth fine layer. I'm not sure that I could say that I didn't see anything of the sort. So there might be some somewhere that we haven't noticed, but
And so because the orbit is 12 hours, you guys are going to start to see results within hours. You'll know.
The images are already down. I mean, there's nothing coming down.
But I mean, in terms of observing if it worked to slow it down, between 73 seconds or 10 minutes or whatever it is, you're going to start to know very shortly.
Yes, that's right. And also we're going to have word from tomorrow probably what the Hubble and the Webb telescope and a lot of the ground-based telescopes, what they saw, how much brightening there was. Okay, so we don't have any indication of that now, but we should later tonight. Yes, so we're not going to be sleeping much tonight.
waiting for stuff to come in and looking at all the data, because it's going to be a couple of days as all the data from all the telescopes comes in and the CubeSat sending images back and all eyes on this one mission. It's going to take some time to get that back. So you still
so tomorrow check in and also probably the day after.
Yeah.
Okay.
No kidding. Andy, I feel like you should be running down the hall and like high-fiving people
yes.
now.
There are places I have to go.
Yes.
Get your pom-poms out.
You are.
Yay, I should have pom-poms. But,
I
good
think
idea.
we should let you off the show here. You stayed with us right through Impact. You were giving us like live impressions of what you were seeing. Thank you so much for that. Like
Okay, great.
Go
shut down the
with your
Zoom
friends.
call. Yeah.
I'm going to, yes.
Run down the hall and high five people or whatever. Thank you so much for the time. Again,
Thank you so much.
Andy Cheng here.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We will see you later. You could literally just disconnect and Elysia and I will keep talking here. Like completely playing this very fast and loose now. You can see that I'm capturing a Zoom call in the window after we turned him off. But Elysia and I, let's talk for a couple more minutes here as I try to find the... I'm almost positive I had a scene for this, but I don't even know what to click on anymore. Good grief.
You're not
Sorry.
on screen anymore.
Us both. There's us, I guess. I'm just going to turn off his camera. It's fine. I don't even know what to do. That's the coolest thing ever. Talk, Elysia.
That was amazing. Yeah. I don't know if Scott was planning to come back or not. He's still actually
No, he's not able to come back to us here.
Setting up your 3-person view. Oh, there we go.
How's this? We'll just turn off that
All
camera.
right. Why not? I am speechless. That was incredible. I mean, again, the quality of that streaming back.
Yes.
I was not expecting that. I really, when they were saying, oh yeah, we're going to target, it's going to be 1 pixel and then we'll just get closer. I'm like, okay, like cool. It's going to be like gray and then black. Okay. It wasn't even black. It turned red.
Okay. I thought it was going to just be like a big blob, and then the blob was going to get bigger, and we were going to hit the blob, and it's like, yay, we hit the blob. But you could see pictures of rocks, like individual little shadows of rocks sitting on the surface. And Andy said it was like beach ball sized rocks.
It's fascinating. And the thing too is like that moon is pretty small, actually.
Yeah.
I think they say it's like about the size, well, I'm in New York City. So it's about the size of 2 Empire State Buildings, I believe they were saying.
Okay.
So not that big, really. And compared to DART, I mean, really, that was it. So if it's gonna hit it and it's gonna make an impact, it's gonna make an impact.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see the images that they get of that explosion.
Yep.
It's gonna be so cool.
Because remember, y'all, that's like different space. I think James Webb was looking at it. I think Hubble was looking at it. Like various space-based imaging assets were like turned in that direction. There were ground-based.
But then also the LICIACube, right?
Yep,
going
the CubeSat
right
going
to
by.
You're gonna see the impact. You're gonna see all of the stuff that comes out of it, or maybe not. If there's not dusty stuff like he was saying, we don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna need to ask Andy if he would like to come back after a months from now. We're doing virtual shows next year, and we have him come back and tell us everything that they learned from literally intentionally crashing into the asteroid out there with the DART mission. That was just the coolest thing.
Cool, and he was great too. We have to get him back.
I'll admit, like I had Mission Control up, and I was gonna play Mission Control, but then he just started live commenting on what he was seeing.
Excited! I just love that.
I did not play the NASA stream that was like Mission Control cheering and stuff because I wanted to hear. He's the lead investigator, right?
Yeah.
And he was seeing these images for the first time ever. He had never seen this before, and live on the stream, spending time with us, giving us his live reactions. I had to make the decision not to play Mission Control. Everybody cheering and stuff, that's fantastic. But just seeing him like lean over and look at the screen, like he was literally leaning towards the camera, looking at it for the first time ever.
Unbelievable.
That's pretty cool.
So cool. He's actually a really cool guy too. He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He was the deputy chief scientist for space science and NASA's science, like just NASA science proper at headquarters for a while.
Yep.
He worked on the NEAR mission. He a lot of asteroid stuff. Galileo, Cassini, New Horizons. It went out to Pluto. Like he's done a lot of stuff like this. So this guy knows his stuff.
Gosh,
that's
just
really great.
Yo, I can't say what a treat it was for members of the team to join us here. NASA TV did their shindig, right? And they have people in Mission Control and high-fiving and that sort of stuff. But we had the lead investigator. We had the scientist who's like looking at this. It was his idea to crash into the asteroid, and I am going to send
exercising.
He was while he was exercising.
That's a plug that we should all be exercising to get amazing Earth-saving ideas, right?
Gosh, I am going to be sending so many thank you emails to all the NASA PAO people and comms people and the team, everybody that was involved. Elysia, y'all at Intrepid, because we originally met them through Intrepid, and then NASA Spaceflight and Intrepid sort of, could we do this show? Sure, if we have guests, let's make the show happen.
This was a very last minute thing, too.
Yeah.
But it worked out. No, this was really great. This was amazing.
This from like Intrepid Museum timescales, this was a very last minute thing. From a NASA spaceflight timescale, this was planned in like super advanced, so much planning around this, like different organizational timescales.
You know.
What should we expect next here? Like you said, it's going to take a couple days for the data to come back, right?
Yeah. So we should be, well, like I was saying, so the orbit is 12 hours. So they are going to be able to observe within the next 12 hours if it did in fact shave off any time. And I think maybe we weren't supposed to know that it was 10 minutes, but he definitely said it on.
He said it in the last show, like.
I checked. He thinks that it's going to shave off 10 minutes, which, as you were showing in that graphic, is going to make the orbit just a little bit tighter.
Yep.
Which is huge, actually. It's actually about, I think they said like 1% of the time. So great. Okay. We're going to find that out very soon. And then in terms of the images, LICIA, I guess he was saying, will be in the next like 48 hours or so.
Yeah.
And then all the other things, I guess, will start trickling in. I don't know. I don't work there.
No. You know what I didn't check yet? Hang on. Yes.
Oh.
DSN now does not show any signal being received from DART anymore. I meant to check that right afterwards, but he was talking about what he was seeing, and I forgot about DSN. I love you, DSN. I didn't think about you in the moment. But no more signal coming back from DART. Eyes on the solar system. Here's the last frame from NASA Eyes. I had this up running in another mission or in another window, and it said, what did it say? Cannot exceed mission end. And so this is where the NASA Eyes simulation ended. But even NASA Eyes, like look at NASA Eyes. They didn't have imagery of what this looked like.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's completely different.
Uh-huh.
They had no idea what it was going to look like.
This
that's
is
so interesting.
This is what they guessed, like the texture they put on it.
Actually were really close with the shape, with the egg shape. But the surface is totally different.
Oh, that's cool. They're like, oh, are there craters on it, et cetera, but
I think it sort of blew his mind. He was like, oh, there's boulders. It looks, it's the opposite.
Here we go. So there's sort of like the egg shape, like you were saying, right, Elysia?
Yeah.
But it's not craters, it's boulders sticking off the edge. This is just the coolest thing.
And that little thing on the bottom there, that is so interesting. Maybe it's just like a weird like thing that hooks around and is catching the light in a strange way, but
maybe it's like a really tall boulder in the back and it like sticks up like up here, right? You sort of look at this. Why don't I use the pen to draw? You could imagine the light being just right so that the surface of the asteroid would block part of it and it would be sort of in shadow, but then the top might be illuminated if the light was coming this way, right? Yeah. And so maybe that's what's happening down here. I mean, you can see the light sort of falling on the asteroid like this, and maybe that's just at a rock or some sort of feature that sticks up enough that the top of it's still being illuminated.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fascinating. I don't know. All these like things that everyone is learning at the exact same time, and we're all like, more questions. That's science, right? More questions. Gotta love it.
That's the coolest thing, because now we've crashed into it and we didn't solve all the answers. We didn't come up with all the answers. We've defined new questions now that we now want to answer based on the mission we did.
Something else that I think is really interesting, that is really just going to have to be the case then, is if we go forward with this technique, let's say this kinetic impactor thing is great and they're like, cool, we knocked it off its course, this is what we're going to do going forward, we're going to put lots of resources into this. They both actually said what it's made up of really actually does have, for lack of a better word, an impact on how it works. So we don't know what it's made up of, though. So if there is an asteroid coming at us, let's say we have 6 months or something.
Yep.
We can't send a mission out to test what it's made out of before we send something out to, actually shoot it off its course. So there's still, it helps in some ways, but in other ways, it's like we're still kind of.
We just have to send a starship filled with darts up, or dart mega darts, or ultra darts, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
and just crash multiple
throw
space
darts at it,
to
right?
throw darts at it.
Throw
Thank
darts
you.
at it.
Yeah. It's amazing that the guidance technology, because remember, y'all, the way that the spacecraft crashed into the asteroid, it was literally looking at this camera, and it was like, okay, I need to aim for this part, steer this way a little bit, steer that way a little bit. It was looking at the feed and trying to keep the center of the asteroid in the center of the camera. And that's one of the way that it was doing like the final trajectory there. And it looks to me like they hit the thing, I mean, dead in the visual center, I guess you could say, right?
And is that something that they developed for this particular mission, or is this something they've had before, this like automated guidance tracking thing?
Well, I know like there are automated docking procedures at the ISS. So things that take feedback from other sensors and then guide a spacecraft into a position, because it was like they were sort of docking with the asteroid just at 17,500 miles per hour, right? Like really fast docking with the asteroid.
Yes.
So I know that they have systems that sort of guide that in. Now, is it visual based? Is it other sensor based? You know, they have like some visual targets on the ISS where you have the little stick on the pole and the little ball and the little target behind it. And there are visual indicators that we've used. Have we crashed anything before? I don't think that that's a thing. Landing, I think. When we talked with the Mars helicopter driver, because
I was going to say Mars, I think, did that. They were able to kind of target and pinpoint where they wanted to land so that they didn't land on boulders or something like that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's going to be really helpful moving forward for landing on other things.
You know, the other thing that I sort of noticed here, let me see as we get into the other frames here, it almost looked like we hit this one big boulder directly. I say we. Whatever, I'm going to say we now.
I helped you.
But you see this right in the middle?
Oh, yeah.
I sort of put the dot in what I thought was the middle, but...
Is that the second to last frame?
I don't know. Let's see if there's one more frame in there. Oh, yeah, there we go. I think that's the last frame. Try one more, see if I got greedy with one more frame here. But it looks... Yep. Okay, it looks like we hit a boulder, or the spacecraft hit a boulder. I didn't hit anything. But
Hang on, go forward one more time.
Right here?
Yeah, just go ahead to the next frame again, the black one or the red one. Yeah.
There you go.
I'm trying to see if we can match up. So you see the top boulder that you can see. I'm trying to figure out which one of those it was.
Yeah.
On the last screen. I don't even know if we can.
There's like a bright part, and then there's a dark, and there's sort of a triangle. Yeah. Let's see if we can identify those one frame back. That's a good question.
Based on DOS art. Let's go.
Let's just draw a circle, a square, and a triangle. Okay, so that's the last frame.
It really zooms in, doesn't it? Wow.
Well,
I mean, it was going fast.
This is the dark side, it looks like. This looks like the triangle, and then there's a bright part right here.
So it hit like that mess right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like because of the way the light's hitting. And again, y'all, we are not NASA scientists. We are people who like this stuff.
I know.
Yeah, shocking. If you didn't figure that out yet. So we are not currently officially analyzing this for NASA or anything. But it's exciting. Like we think this is really interesting. And so I have fun talking about this. But look, you see how, you got sort of the dark side of the boulders and the light side of the boulders. So the light's sort of hitting this, and you can sort of see the top of this boulder structure, I don't know if that's the right term, right there. And then it gets sort of like darker on the other side, but there's some scattering lighting it up. And there's like a really dark part down there, like really deep in the shadow. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like we hit maybe the side of that where it curves down a little bit. You think I'm like making that up, Elysia, or you think that makes maybe?
I mean, if the goal was to lock onto the brightest spot in the center,
right,
of it, then maybe it's the light part, like right above that dot
on the other side, or could it have reacted fast enough, like to shift over that way?
No, I mean just above it, because it zoomed in real big. Maybe it was kind of moving up. If it wasn't
like up there or up there or
but
something like that.
I mean, regardless, it's like in that area. It hit a rock. It hit a boulder.
Yes.
And so yes, it crashed right into directly a boulder.
I would love to see if we like rolled that boulder across the surface or something.
Yeah.
Like the spacecraft.
It probably shattered into a bunch of pieces. It's 15,000 miles an hour. I mean, it probably shattered and went kablamo out into space.
Did we like destroy the boulder completely by hitting it with a spacecraft at 70,000 miles per hour?
I would vote yes. I would vote yes.
That's a good. Did we like crack it in half and completely shatter one side of it and the other one like went flying off the asteroid or something? I'm super curious.
I think we left a little bit of a dent. That's what my vote would be.
A little bit of a dent.
A little bit of a mark on the moon.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I cannot wait to see these images, though. This is going to be so cool.
This is just the coolest thing. Again, I was flabbergasted. Like when it started to become pictures of rocks, I thought it was just going to be a blob. And I'm like, yay, we hit the blob. And I didn't expect to get pictures of rocks.
It's so cool. There's rocks. I've never been so excited to see rocks, you know?
But they're rocks in space.
On an asteroid moon.
There you go.
That's between Earth and Mars, guys. Like, isn't that cool?
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
This is just the coolest thing. Again, folks, we are not NASA official coverage, right? I'm with NASASpaceflight.
We're better than that. Come on. We're better. That's why people are watching us right now.
They give us permission to do this. No, they're fantastic. We're like definitely happy to be the second best coverage out there. But I'm with NASASpaceflight. We cover rocket launches and things that are going on at Starbase and what's going on with Starship and all sorts of different things. This is the first time that we've done coverage like this for a mission. And Elysia is from Intrepid Museum. She actually manages, oh, there you go. There's a space shuttle behind her, out in New York City. And this is sort of a joint program between Intrepid Museum and NASASpaceflight to bring coverage on a monthly basis. We do these virtual shows called Virtual Astronomy Live, and we'll have like, you know, the guy that flies the helicopter on Mars, or scientists.
Or Scott Bellamy.
Or Scott Bellamy.
Earlier,
yeah. Or people talking about James Webb, or somebody who knows about origami talking about how that helps us learn to fold up solar arrays and mirrors and stuff like that. So that's what we do here on the channel. If you're confused what's happening, this is a joint venture between NASASpaceflight, the independent media organization, not affiliated with NASA, and Intrepid Museum. That is sort of what we do. So wherever you're watching, whether you're on Facebook over there, you're on the YouTube channel, you're watching on Twitch, if this is the sort of content that you like, make sure you toss a follow in, like click the follow button, like and subscribe, or like whatever. We do these sorts of things on a regular basis, and I think given the success of this one, Elysia, we may look at doing more live mission coverage like this.
Absolutely, we should. This was really amazing. And yeah, I mean, it worked out really great. I'm so glad that they were able to take some time for us as well. I would imagine if I was over there at APL, I'd be like glued to my computer or glued to mission control and I don't know, sweating bullets in the background. Like, what's going on? Are we going to hit it? But that was so generous of them to be able to, you know, break away and take some time with us. That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Massive thanks. I mean, Scott Bellamy was the mission manager for the DART mission, right? And Andrew Cheng there was the lead scientist, the lead investigator, I guess, for the mission. Like literally, he told us that he came up with the idea for this mission while exercising.
Yes.
That's the coolest thing. And he took time out of this event, and he was sharing that time with us here live. We cannot say thank you enough to all of the folks that made this happen. But at least we didn't really have like a hard and fast stopping time. We just sort of said, we'll see what happens. We were talking like 7:30, 7:45. We're coming up on 7:45 here. Any other parting words as we sort of shut down the stream, I guess?
I don't know. Were there any other questions or anything that we can answer?
Oh, geez. That's a high question.
Really get to too many questions.
Gordon Murphy says this stream was amazing. So, Gordon, thank you for that. We're able to do it because y'all keep showing up. Mario Borovkinin says, I think it's time NASA starts using NSF for official NASA TV programs.
Hey.
Thanks, Mario. They know how to get in touch. Call our people. Actually, it's just us. They just call us directly. We don't have people.
Send us a tweet.
Here's one. How will we know if the asteroid was destroyed? I don't think they were trying to destroy the asteroid, right?
So actually DART is unable to destroy. Well, actually, I should preface this by saying if it is just, we saw it really wasn't. But if it was just like a big, loose, you know, amorphous blob of rocks, then it would have just spread it out. Yep. But DART, as they intended it anyway, it could not actually destroy that moon, nor, and I don't think we ever said this on the stream, FYI, everyone, this is not an asteroid that will be impacting Earth.
Yes, that's good.
This was never a dangerous asteroid for us. It is far enough away that it is not going to ever impact us based on this trajectory, and DART impacting it will not make it do so either.
Right.
So you're safe from this. Don't worry. It's not going to hit us like the dinosaurs. But no, it's not actually going to destroy the moon. It just is hoping to kind of bump it a little bit. And see if it can change its motion.
And that's why I brought up this graphic here. This makes a lot of sense. We're not just like firing at random asteroids in the solar system and then like, who knows one day will they hit us or not, right? The asteroid that we just crashed the probe into was captured around the larger asteroid here. So it was actually in orbit around the larger asteroid, and the probe crashed into it. Like if you look at this, you can sort of see the way that it's orbiting. And when it comes around one more time here, Dimorphos, please, the probe sort of like got in a head-on collusion with it, right? Like that, bam. Well, come on, go ahead, hit it, so I can say bam. Bam, there you go. And so it got in a head-on collision with it, and by hitting it sort of head-on, it was supposed to slow it down a little bit, and Dimorphos will still be captured around Didymos. It's not going to be knocked off into some random trajectory that we can't predict around the solar system. It's still captured there around the larger asteroid, and they're going to observe exactly how they affected the orbit, and that'll let them know how much they were able to actually change the trajectory of the asteroid by literally crashing into it on purpose. So that's a very important distinction. They were crashing into an asteroid that was orbiting another asteroid that was orbiting the sun. They weren't crashing into an asteroid that was about to crash into Earth. We didn't have to scramble Bruce Willis in very confusing space shuttles or anything like that. Like this was a test in a very sort of controlled environment, right?
Yes, this is not an experiment on something that is actually going to hurt us.
Yes.
This is an experiment in, like you said, a very controlled environment. Exactly. And that's actually important too, is why they selected this particular one. I mentioned this earlier. It's observable from Earth, as you saw all of those dishes, sending messages back and forth. We can see it here. We can monitor it here. Also, because it is such a controlled thing, they have so much data from it about the moon going around the asteroid. They know it is a 12-hour orbit. They know that they can check on that every 12 hours to see if it's knocking any time off of it. So a good little target.
I've got a thing right here. My friend Jay has sent me an image here, and he actually took the last frame and overlaid it on the previous frame.
Oh, I love it.
And matched it up.
Thank you, Jay. You are amazing.
This is actually, Jay's actually helped with some of the streams we've done from Intrepid. He's out with Airway Science for Kids out in Portland, Oregon now, doing awesome STEM outreach for kids. But he just sent me this image, which was overlaying the two images. Look at that, though.
So it's right kind of in the center of all those boulders there, just like you were saying.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Is the coolest thing. Just like it's
actually, so how many seconds in between were those image refreshing? Were they
about a second? The frame rate on that camera, we were getting about 1 image per second.
So that also shows you how fast they were going as well. If 1 second, boom, boom, boom.
That's
wow.
Cool.
That's really cool. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thanks, Jay. Jay literally DM'd me that image and was like, "Can I show it?" And he's like, "Sure, you can show it." So, Jay, thanks so much for the help there. Jeez. Let's see here. I'm going to see if we can get a couple more questions that Elysia and I are able to field. Tim says thank you, and a special thank you to Elysia. Thank you, Tim, for watching and being a part of this.
Thank you.
Do they still have possible communications with a tiny CubeSat? Yes, they are still expecting the image downlink from LICIA, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And that's they're going to start getting those, over the next few days, I guess. They're going to start getting all those back.
Yep. That was here.
But then I guess he was saying it's just going to keep going.
I think it just missed.
That's it. It has served its purpose, and it just carries on into the sunset.
Yeah. There was the
night.
animation of that where the little CubeSat separated and it sort of was flying in formation with the impactor, but the CubeSat was supposed to go flying. It doesn't actually make that noise when it goes by, but it was supposed to survive.
Gosh, we talked about this before. In space, we do not hear any sounds like that. There is no airwaves. But we had a poll about this.
That's why I have to make the noise for you to illustrate how it would sound if there. I don't know.
Is that what it sounds like on Earth? Is that what it would sound like on Earth?
Probably not. That's an entire sci-fi thing where the ships actually have to simulate the sounds of the other passing objects as additional sensory feedback for the pilots in the ships. That's an entire thing we could talk about forever. Anyways, it's generated by the computer.
Virtual Astronomy Live.
/DOS, yeah. Let's see here.
Oh my God, somebody just said DOS Foley artist. I'm dead. That's amazing.
This is gonna make like a soundtrack based on my little sound effects here.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Let's see.
Any other good ones?
Yes, there are. I got a lot of people DMing me questions here as well. Possible communications. What did they launch? How long was DART flying towards the target? Can you grab that one real quick?
How long was it flying
Like,
towards? So like
launch till.
So okay, yeah. So it launched. I want to say it was November 23rd or 24th. It was right before Thanksgiving of last year.
Yeah.
That was when it launched. It launched in I believe it was a Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg. And then yeah, it's just kind of been heading that direction ever since. And that was so cool. I think it was Scott was saying that they did such a good job with targeting it that they didn't even really need to fire those next-C propulsion ion thrusters that he was working on.
Yeah.
So it's been up there since November, so less than a year. But again, they chose that system in particular because it was easily reachable and easily measurable.
Yeah. Elysia, if you could cover for me, I'm doing one thing in the background here. If you could keep talking. It's the problem with DAS, like producing the show and then also talking and then also doing things in the background.
Yeah. So let's see, what else can I mention? Oh, so if anyone did happen to see that stream back in December, you might have recalled I did a pre-show for it. This was actually before we were doing NASA spaceflight cooperation here. But I did a pre-show actually about how they find them and how they prepare for things like that. And I actually did kind of a mashup with tabletop gaming and kind of how they do that, because it's true. Actually, we have scientists and engineers who do role play games. Believe it or not, they do tabletop exercises where they learn about like a fictional asteroid. They have these conferences where they gather. They've done this 8 or 9 times now.
Yep.
They come up with this hypothetical scenario about fake incoming asteroids, all this fictional data, and they kind of see that's a little bit of a test how they would respond. They have it over a couple days. They slowly reveal little pieces of information, just like real discovery and tracking, as they would. And they have to think up what kinds of challenges that they would face, what choices they might make, what choices they might want to have done differently, and what they wish they actually physically had already on hand to deal with them. And it's a really great exercise because they're gathering all that data in real time of what do we wish we had? What do we want to start creating? But it's also a really great experience for emergency response people to talk to scientists about these things, because they're two bubbles that often do not really intersect. However, scientific emergencies do happen, right? Like the pandemic, for example.
Yep.
So it's a really great training exercise that actually really can keep us safe someday. And it's really a bizarre thing. They literally all gather in a room and they do tabletop gaming.
Pretend that there's an emergency that they have to deal with.
I was joking about like D&D, and I was actually saying there is, I believe, a spell called Meteor Swarm. So
if y'all see me frantically looking up here, our NASA spaceflight photography team is rapidly tossing images of the DART launch to me because we actually had some folks out there for the launch. So there is a photo from Jack Beyer out at Vandenberg, where this launched from, and
there's no fog.
There's no fog. I'm confused. I almost said that it was a different place, but the mountains gave it away. So there was that one, and then here is a close-up shot of the DART in the fairing. So what was in this fairing was 11 months ago or whatever, is now no longer in the fairing. It's inside the asteroid, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and actually, I believe there was a picture too of it while they were in like the clean room, of it actually in the fairing, and it's teeny tiny in comparison to the fairing itself. It has a gold foil all over it. Oh, there you got
that
it.
one.
Oh yeah. It's so teeny tiny.
So this is the big Falcon 9 fairing, right? And inside of the Falcon 9 fairing is this, and the part down here.
And the solar arrays, you can see them, they're all rolled up.
Yeah, they're rolled up.
So once it actually launched and got released out into space, they unrolled them. And I remember Scott Bellamy was saying that once they did that, they actually kind of wobbled a little bit. He was actually doing this on the stream. Like they kind of wobbled, and they were having to figure out some issues with that, how to keep them straight and how to keep them, actually doing their job. And there was something else on the actual arrays as well. I'm trying to remember. I made a note of this. They had... Oh, yeah. So they actually had a small experiment as part of the solar arrays on this as well.
Right.
Let's see. It's a okay, so it's called the Transformational Solar Array. It was a technology demonstration that uses a different type of solar cells and reflective concentrators. So it allows them to produce 3 times more power than traditional solar technology.
Really?
So it was a demonstration on the thing. So I'm curious to see how that works as well.
Cool. Well, I hope they got their data back from that experiment before now.
Yeah. I'm sure they did.
It's just, can you imagine like where your mission is to lose the signal from your spacecraft intentionally? Like we crashed into the asteroid.
That's Voyager too, right? I'm obsessed with Voyager, and I that's really what that is. The whole point was, there were many points actually. They had many targets for that, but
sure.
Now it's like, great, just keep going. You're still alive. You were supposed to have died like 20 years ago. Cool, and we're still getting stuff back, but eventually they know it will be so far away we cannot hear from it anymore.
Yep.
But like that's the point. It kept going and it kept sending us stuff as far as we could go.
Yeah. That's just, I can't imagine, like, normally we've seen Mars landings where they've landed rovers or missions on Mars and it's mission control and everyone with bated breath waiting for the signal. And they're always waiting for the spacecraft to check in and said, hey, I'm still alive. And in this case,
terror, right?
Yeah, right. In this case, it wasn't mission control cheering because they got the heartbeat back from the spacecraft. It was mission control cheering because they didn't hear back from the spacecraft.
Yep. It's amazing though. It's great. That's great. I think that's the headline too, that everyone was like, huh? NASA's intentionally crashing a spaceship into an asteroid. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
That seems like a waste. No, this is the point.
For science. That's why they were crashing it. For science. That's why they crashed it into the spacecraft. Let's see here. I'm going to see if maybe there's one more question. I know we really got, especially with Andy there, we really got excited to listening to his feedback. I muted Mission Control because I just wanted to hear what he had to say, right?
Great.
But we didn't ask a lot of questions there, just limited time, and massive thanks. A lot of people putting in questions that are more just saying thank you for the live coverage. So everybody, thank you so much for...
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support.
Actually, can't find any questions because everybody tagged us saying, good job, thank you for the coverage. Here's a question.
Uh-oh.
I may need the NASA Spaceflight back channel to help me with this one. Is this, can we consider this the first successfully completed interplanetary mission for SpaceX and Falcon 9?
Well, it's the first successfully completed interplanetary, whatever you just said, for NASA, isn't it? For anyone?
Well, I mean, NASA has lots of
interplanetary
missions, just interplanetary, like sending probes to Mars or whatever, right?
Oh, just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah.
Not trying to crash or deflect anything or anything like that. But a big thing has been SpaceX has done so many launches into low Earth orbit, and they've sent things around the moon. And technically, there's things that have been in out there orbits, escape trajectory sort of things. But is this the first successful interplanetary mission for SpaceX?
Well, what I would question is, we put it up there in its fairing, but did it actually work on DART? Is there a gray line?
I would say yes, because SpaceX's trajectory insertion was so accurate that they didn't need to fire up the ion engine. So SpaceX
they had the ion engine in the event that they weren't so accurate.
Yep,
so
but they put it on.
Still happened, but
true. But they put it on such a good trajectory, where SpaceX's job ended was done with such precision that they didn't have to do any other major corrections, I guess you could say, right? So SpaceX's part, sending the probe on an interplanetary trajectory, I would say was a success, right?
Do asteroids count as interplanetary?
It's outside the Earth-Moon system. I don't know. Chat, what do y'all think? We should just have a poll on this.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. And some people in chat asking if I could show the overlay image again, and I can do that. Let me bring up the overlay real quick, and we'll put that back on the screen while chat asks. The back channel, the NASA Spaceflight back channel, says asteroids do count as being interplanetary. Even if you're not going...
And also, does TESS count as an interplanetary mission?
That's on an escape, it's escaped from Earth, right? It's in interplanetary space. You could say, okay, if you wanted to clear it up.
Contributed to it.
Yeah. But they delivered it on its way to the orbit where it needed to go, right? You could say this. You could say that it was the first successful mission for SpaceX to another body in the solar system, the moon, but that's to the surface of another body. I'm like slicing it very fine here, right? Mm-hmm. But a successful mission to the surface of another body in the solar system. It's the first time SpaceX has done that. True back channel? What, like my fact checkers need to check in for me.
I mean, I have no doubt that if it's not the first time, they will very soon accomplish it.
Yes, there you go.
SpaceX is crushing it. So bravo, SpaceX. I don't really have an opinion one way or another on this one. I don't know.
The numbers are coming in. I think that if we slice it down that way, not a planet, right? But it's the first successful mission to touch another body in the solar system, because they've got things that have gone into interplanetary space, but they haven't like landed on Mars or anything like that. And this is the first time that we'll use. It's not I guess, is it a successful mission to the surface of the asteroid because you intended to crash into it and you did? Congratulations. You could say to touch the surface of another planetary body. I would say that that's success, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's correcting me. Chat's not arguing with me.
They would let you know.
The Tesla Roadster did go out to a Mars-inspired orbit, but it didn't touch another planetary body, right? So this is...
That we know of.
We know of. Nice.
That was ridiculous. Oh, my God.
Nobody's arguing with me here. Okay. All right. Normally people will be screaming at me in the back channel, actually, DOS, this. And I'm like, oh, seriously? Anyways, Elysia, it's 8 o'clock now. We've gone through a couple more questions there. Honestly, we just had an awful lot of fun talking about this stuff.
Oh, that was so great. That was amazing. And again, I know we've said it a million times, but if you're out there, thank you, Scott Bellamy and Andy Cheng. Amazing. Thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us your brilliant thoughts and just live commentary and patience, I guess, as people and sounds are being piped in and not clapping's being piped in. And I don't know, Scott was telling us that there was a barbecue they threw and he wasn't even there for that.
He didn't bring enough for us. We're like, where's our barbecue? Anyways, folks, if this is the type of content that you like, you know how to get back here. Make sure you like or subscribe to whatever channel you're watching on, because we had it on Facebook, we had it on multiple YouTube channels, we had it on Twitch, wherever you were watching.
And all the Intrepid channels, too. Don't forget us.
Exactly. I don't think we had it on the NASASpaceflight Facebook, but wherever you're watching, just make sure you follow that channel. Follow the Intrepid Museum. Follow NASASpaceflight. I don't care what social media it's on. We do these sorts of shows where we get a subject matter expert and we just sit down and we just talk about awesome space stuff. It's not like next slide presentation sort of deal. We just give them the opportunity to talk about things that they're passionate about and
geek out, as you saw Andy being like, "Oh, I'm watching." Oh,
this is sort of what we do. So please.
Natural habitat.
It is. It's like comfortable habitat where it's not like you're giving a technical paper or anything like that. It's just we're all space nerds sitting on the virtual space couch talking about awesome space stuff that we think is cool. Space related things. Anyways. Make sure you I can't believe you had pom-poms though.
Of course.
You
this
have
was
to
huge.
You have to like get those cleared by the producer or something. Oh wait, that's you, I guess. So anyways. Because you can make that call. Please make sure you follow. We're able to do things like this because y'all keep showing up wherever you're watching, however you're engaging, however you're participating in this, being a part of the experience. We wouldn't be able to do it unless you showed up. And that counts for the shows that we do virtually online. It counts for the museum in person as well. Events happen at the museum, like coming up this Friday. If you're in New York City.
Right. Hey, and if you're a fan of us, more of that coming on Friday as well. Coming up on Friday, September 30th.
We're going to be like these people. Go.
We've got our astronomy night on site at the Intrepid Museum. And we are going to be having all sorts of fun things going on. If you happen to be local in New York City, or hey, if you want to book a flight and come on in, why not? The museum's going to be open for free from 5 o'clock until the wee hours of the night. Maybe not the wee hours, but as it gets darker. We've got educational activities and demonstrations in the hangar deck. We've got our special guest speaker is actually going to be Fred Hayes of of Apollo 13 fame, the actual astronaut Fred Hayes. He's going to be there in our space shuttle pavilion, as you see right behind me with the beautiful Space Shuttle Enterprise. He'll be there in conversation with former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino. He'll be talking about his book, Never Panic Early, which came out earlier this year. Also doing a book signing. So if you are interested in getting that, definitely the place to be. And then also we're going to be having some stargazing out on the flight deck. Hopefully it's going to be a nice night. So we'll have our telescopes out there and our local Amateur Astronomers Association out there looking at stars. Believe it or not, you can actually see stuff. Actually, tonight was a really amazing night for stargazers. Jupiter had its closest little visit to us since 1963, I think it was.
Huh.
And check that out. I haven't actually looked outside yet. It was so light when we started this thing.
Now I'm about to pull up a live camera and point it at Jupiter, but we need to shut down the show. We'll do that on Space Coast Live or something like that.
So Astronomy Night, and also, as I mentioned, Das will actually be physically here on site with us, going around doing some live streaming like he does. So you will see two of us in person together.
It's true.
At the Intrepid, the world might explode.
People aren't going to know what to do.
We met up in person at the press site. You surprised me. I was not expecting to physically see you there.
I did.
And you were secretly doing things.
I was secretly installing the Space Coast Live cameras, which is our new NASA Spaceflight 24/7 stream from the Space Coast. I wonder if I could bring that up. That might be a thing.
Yeah, I got totally bamboozled. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, SLS coverage. Yeah, we got our cameras over there. I didn't realize he was actually installing permanent cameras at the press site that now you all can watch 24/7 coverage of Space Coast Live at the VAB at the previously known, previously referred to as Fleet Cam.
Fleet Cam, yeah, Fleet Cam, yeah.
And SLS, which is rolling back in a few hours.
You will never guess, Elysia, what we're doing with SLS's rollback.
I won't guess?
You will never guess.
What? You're not streaming it.
No, that's how you wouldn't guess.
That's what I wouldn't guess.
We are streaming it, actually. In the morning, we are going to do a special stream as SLS gets a little bit closer to the VAB. We are going to be doing live commentary coverage of the crawler and the transporter and the SLS tower and the whole thing as it makes its way back to the VAB in preparation for, I guess, currently still tropical storm. I haven't checked to see if it got upgraded to a hurricane.
Wait, why would I not guess that? That sounds exactly like something you would do.
I was being sort of you'll never guess.
That sounds like something that I would get pinged to maybe help do commentary on at 6 in the morning.
It's true. We are going to be streaming that tomorrow. We'll have some shots of SLS up close on the NASA Spaceflight channel if you're interested in talking about SLS and hurricanes and all those things. And then I was like, I wonder, does that Never Panic Early thing with Fred Hayes map to hurricanes as well? Anyways.
Well, they panicked on their own sweet time is what they did.
There you go. They definitely didn't panic early.
That was delayed. But I feel personally that they have made the correct choice.
Yes.
I think that SLS is Orange Rocket good is my opinion, and I think that it's probably safer to have it in sheltered.
Yes.
Than not.
I think that makes good sense. Yes, we're on the 30 minutes of the outro now. We said we were going to shut it down. I mean, 7:30, 7:45, 8 o'clock. We sort of had an open-ended here, but
we can just keep going until SLS gets all the way back to the VAB, guys. You want to just hop on the stream?
First motion's at 11, which is in another 3 hours. What are you doing the next
3 hours, right? What else?
Jeez. I'm going to get dinner is what I'm going to do, Elysia. I don't know what you're up to. Anyways, let's go ahead and call that the end of the show. Folks, if you had fun with us here, make sure you like and subscribe, turn on your notifications, follow whichever channel, the Intrepid Museum's channels, the NASA Spaceflight channels, whatever they are. You know how to get back to these things if you like this. Thank you so much, viewers, for helping make this happen by supporting both the Intrepid Museum and NASA Spaceflight. Massive thanks to Johns Hopkins University, APL, the Advanced Physics Lab, and the NASA Comm team for helping us get that set up with the special guest, the mission manager, and the principal investigator there. That was a treat that I have not ever experienced before, and just to see the principal investigators' live reactions here just with us, that was fantastic. But all of that's possible because y'all keep showing up. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Gosh, I guess we roll the outro and turn off the stream now, huh?
I guess.
All right. Let's play the outro music.
Unless you're gonna magically like reveal another 24/7 live camera somewhere.
It's like LICIACube live. No, it's not a thing. LICIACube live, Asteroid Didymos live, or something like that. No. DART was actually a secret mission to install a NASA spaceflight camera on the asteroid.
You would do that.
No. That's a little bit out of our purview right now. But folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll roll the outro music. You're going to end up on a 24/7 stream. Elysia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was absolutely amazing. Wonderful partnership as always. Can't wait for the next one.
It's Elysia Segal, Public Programs at Intrepid Museum. Always a fantastic face to have on the stream. My name's John Galloway. You may know me as Das if you've watched these things before, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Let's get some music.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good. Toggling up. Roger roll, Atlantic.
Water towers can fly!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight down speed off. Bring in SCE off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.